Hello, hello. Thank you so much for coming into the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. Let me check the. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. All right. This is the Sashiko Live Streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. This is not a lecture or tutorials or even webinars for that. So I will not answer the questions about the technicals, teach me how to use the thimble, teach me how to do that. I will not answer those questions, but I will try my best to answer any other cultural stories, questions related to the Sashiko stitching. So, few announcement. Well, it's kind of the same announcement from the last week, and I haven't really been updating much, but there are some workshop planned next year, 2025, and all of the information is summarized into one website. So please check the description area for the information. Sashikostory.com. Just a second. Okay. And we are planning the Sashiko Japan Tour for 2025 as well. And the date has not been decided, but I am now I'm opening the waiting list for those to receive for those who wish to receive the information in advance to everybody else. So if you're interested in that, please check the also description area as well. Okay. That being said, I think that's the old announcement. I do not have the workshop in 2024 at this moment. So if you'd like to jump onto the Sashiko stitching right now, please consider the online Sashiko class. I'm pretty confident that I can deliver the similar experience to the in-person workshop. Some people are probably suitable for the online class because I will be there pretty much all the time. So, yep, let's see how it's gonna go. All right, let me change the photo first. This technique is active in Japan. Well, that's a kind of a question that I have to answer. This is not a technique. It's the practice. And to answer that question, is Sashiko active in Japan? Yes and no. It's gonna probably relate to today's conversation. What is traditional? But traditional style, probably not much. I mean, we don't have to stitch anymore for the survival. So if we focus on the very traditional form, probably not. But it does exist in Japan too. But it's not a technique. Well, it involves technique, but there's no such a thing as technique for this kind of practice, I guess. But that's that's the beginning of this misunderstanding because it is translated as the technique, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just those people who decided to skip all of the stories when they tried to introduce this stitching. Like while I share those stories, sometimes people ask me, like, what is your goal? Like, why do you keep doing that? Well, my goal is to kind of pass down this tradition to the next generations without excluding those who practice Sashiko in Japan today. So because it's active now, I would like to make sure that I can involve everybody. At the same time, that can kind of expand to the fact that those who actually practice that don't get much profit out of it, in my understanding. For example, I don't know anybody who makes their living by just doing Sashiko in Japan because it has become something else. And in order to preserve as the culture, I hope that there will be somebody who can make their living by just doing it. I think it's similar to other Japanese practice, which is pretty famous in the United States or even Western countries. I might be wrong for this, but I don't know if there's any artisan who make their living by just doing kintsugi. There are many workshops, there are many people who make their living by teaching what kintsugi is or offering the workshop, but I don't know if there are any artisans who just do kintsugi for their survival. Not a survival, for their daily usage. And I am from the family that they made living by just doing it. That's why it's kind of lost tradition for that matter. I have seen many, not many, but I have seen those who made living by just doing Sashiko, and they're all gone. And I cannot do that. I cannot make a living by just doing it. So, that's why I sell supplies to kind of maintain the sustainability for that. But at the same time, I cannot beat those who focus on the selling or marketing. Like, I don't know how to use the internet. Sorry, I know how to use the internet. I know how to connect the internet, but I'm not good at internet marketing. I don't know how to use the Facebook marketing or Google AdWord or something like that. And I don't think I have enough inventory to use the advertisement, because the business model is not really, like, I don't have that much inventory to begin with. So if I get, let's say, 20 orders today, tomorrow there will be some thread will be run out. It's quite fragile. Not a fragile. How can I explain that? It's on the edge. It was over the edge in COVID, but it's now on the edge. I'm trying to push it back as much as I can. Sorry, in Uruguay. Thank you so much for coming from Uruguay. Please don't apologize. It's not your misunderstanding. It is introduced as the technique, so it's not your problem. It is a way of saying that there are a lot of traditional cultures or a lot of things which got not translated well, misinterpreted, or lost in translation, and that happens. The lost in translation between Japanese culture and Western culture, or any other culture for that matter, happens because of the ignorance of those who wants to learn, which can be mostly like Western people, and negligence of Japanese people to share. And that's why I keep saying that I am, and many people are responsible to speak up when they want to pass down this type of culture. There's no information from the Japanese. There's not that many information from actual Japanese people. As the result, Sashiko has become only the form of technique. Technique is important, but at the same time, technique does not explain everything. Yet some teach Sashiko as the technique, and if they don't have access to the other Japanese people, that will be the answer. So it's not something you apologize. Please don't apologize that. So as long as you're enjoying it, and I really appreciate you coming here and learning, and that's all I ask. So many people are expert in this. Hello, hello. So, yeah, I don't know how to compete with those who specialize in selling. So there are many manufacturers, there are many like online sellers, marketing professions. Those are really good, skilled people who are really good at selling items, selling many so-called Sashiko thread, Sashiko thimble. You can Google anything and then you can get the answers there. But what if one wants to preserve something quite, let's say, the thread with long history, yet it does not have that much mass production capacity. They don't have the advertisement budget to be known. How can we reward them for what they do? There are quite many Japanese Sashiko artisans right now who are stitching today, even today, in Japan. Again, as long as I know, none of them can make their living by just doing Sashiko, including my mother. My mother is quite close to making her ends by doing Sashiko, but that's pretty much thanks to the support on Patreon. Without that, she would probably need to work for the part-time to pay bills. I am doing okay purely thanks to my spouse, my family here. So without them, I definitely need to get a job. I mean, I cannot pay insurance in the US with this. So I don't know how this system can, like, if you have any good ideas to kind of reverse it, please let me know. I'm trying to find a way because it can apply to many, many other practice too. At the same time, maybe we have to keep up at some point. So that's kind of like related to the tradition phase. What is tradition to you? So that's probably today's topic, right? Yeah, what is traditional for you, to you? What I'm doing, Sashiko, can be categorized, or many people will categorize what I do as traditional Sashiko. I don't consider it traditional much. But at the same time, we kind of have to discuss what traditional is first. Like, is traditional means old-fashioned, or like not modern, not innovative? There gotta be so many ways to explain that, but just to clear my point, what I'm doing right now can be categorized as traditional, and I don't have any problem with that. But it's really not traditional from some of those who actually practice traditional Sashiko. Traditional does not mean that it cannot change or it refuses to change. Traditional can be new or kind of innovation. This may be something I have to learn in English. We have two words in Japanese, and one is dental that can be translated as tradition. And when they say dento as tradition, it include the change to like necessary or optimized change to adapt to today's world. So those who do not go through that adaptation will not be considered as tradition. Well, because they don't simply exist, I guess. If they don't adjust it, if they don't refuse to adjust, refuse to change, at some point they will lose it. And that's probably what I talked about in the very beginning of this live streaming. What can I do to compete with those who are very good at marketing and business? Well, the goal is that I have to adjust to get that kind of skill as well. Just stitching itself is not gonna be good enough to preserve it. And second word we have is densho. And densho is, it can be translated as folklore or some like a story-based information or story-based description about the practice itself. So we kind of separate dento, traditional, into two places. Wow, I cannot thread. One is the dento, which can change, which should change. And second is densho, which does not change. The story shouldn't change. So what I'm trying to do is to leave these stories as densho so that we can all appreciate the dento as the tradition. And in Japanese, I can kind of categorize those two things, but in English, I don't know if there's any other word. But can traditional be innovative or something adapting to the new ideas based on the like wisdom from the other like previous generations or without from the past or old generations? Pretty much every Japanese Sashiko artisans I know in Japan do not speak English, right? They do not even wish to speak up. But that was probably okay 30, 40, 50 years ago. But at the same time, right now, we have to speak up if that's the goal, if the goal is to preserve the culture. If they don't care about it, that's okay. But if the goal is to preserve it, it has to be known. And we do have a way to speak up, like this live streaming Instagram. So, and they cannot say like, well, I don't speak English. Well, there is a lot of way to translate it too. It might not be enough, but at least it's something. So anybody, even artist, has to at some point adjust to the new system. So am I. At the same time, that change might not be enough. And I'm trying to find a system or flow or probably system or ideas to I don't want them to be like wealthy more than necessary, but I want them to be able to focus on what they do instead of worrying about their bills. I want these Sashiko artisans to be able to focus on just stitching. I don't think it's too much to ask. Like without those who stitch, Sashiko is no longer Sashiko. Sashiko cannot be heroes in Sashiko should be the one who is stitching, not the one who sells the supplies, not the one who teach Sashiko, not the one who write about it, who stitch. Like right now, if you're stitching Sashiko, you are the hero, you are the main character in the stage. And without them, without you, this practice does not mean anything. So I think in English the closest thing would be folklore. So yeah, folklore shouldn't change much, and then based on the folklore we can probably adjust what we do. Like we can develop the tradition. That doesn't sound very natural. Develop the develop the traditional, and develop the tradition does not make good sense to me, but that's probably what I'm trying to do. Tradition connects us with our roots. Sometimes people protect tradition so much it can disappear. When you decide to learn, you must understand about Sashiko, respect it, and have an open-minded. And I think that's that's exactly what I'm trying to convey right now. It is about to be disappeared because internet is too fast. Internet is too big. Internet is too. How can I say that? It can be quite shallow. And we kind of stop imagining what is behind it. So if the majority are those who are here right now who can respect the origin, we wouldn't be probably worried about it, but we don't have that much kind of time or luxury to look into something which is not already spoken. We have so many informations already on the table. We are too busy to sort through the information we have already. It's kind of big luxury things to do to even visit the root of that tradition to understand what it is. That's what I'm trying to do in the Japan Sashiko Tour. Sashiko Japan Tour is about that. I would like to bring as many people as possible to the root of the some Sashiko that I don't even practice. It's gonna be just workshop is gonna be just experience. Probably to be their student, they have to commit some of their life, like a year, few years. I don't know how long they require, but it's not something we can just go and get it. It's not a certification you can get by just paying it. But at least introducing them can open a mind, open the world to those who visit Japan. And I have to be very careful because I have to know who I'm introducing to those teachers, because anybody is a little bit of scary things to do. So I often get the question like, where can I go in Japan? Where I should go in Japan? I don't answer those questions because my recommendation comes with responsibility. And as long as I know that I can take that responsibility, I don't want to make the introduction or recommendation. Plus, if they speak Japanese, it's a different story. But if they speak Japanese, they probably wouldn't message me in English. So that's kind of like, difficult part of this. I kept saying this, and I'm sorry if I make you feel uncomfortable, but I am a glitch in this trend, which means that I am not supposed to be here. If the culture shift, I am like a very big glitch in the flow. So I think it's safe for me to say that I am the first Japanese Sashiko artisan who can speak English without translator. There are many Japanese who can speak English and learn Sashiko after that. But Sashiko comes, those who were doing Sashiko from very young age, and then later on, I happened to get an English ability, and there are not that many. Well, I think I'm the first one. I'm not minimizing the others. If you know anybody else, I'm humbly. Actually, I really would like to know so that I can learn from them. But without me, Sashiko probably could have become something else. And Sashiko is becoming something else very easily because there will be nobody who is speaking up from that deep root. They don't care about the philosophy. If they don't care about the philosophy, or if they don't know about the philosophy, this can be just a technique. This can be just a practice or even hobby to appreciate, well, like not even to appreciate, with a lot of tales which makes us comfortable, like sustainabilities, recycling. But because I do have an ability to speak up, that shift is now a little bit slowed down or probably prevented. I don't know if it's prevented or not. It is changing, and I'm becoming the minorities in terms of the voice. But there's so many things that it's not introduced in English at this moment, although there's so many books published. Those are very, very one part of Sashiko. It's not a whole picture. And it's not only my experience, it's other Sashiko artisans' experience, including the other Sashiko artisans' experience. It is not fully explained. So, for example, like the reason I say that I'm the glitch, for example, if I were very obedient, good child, nice child, I would be the third generation of the family business, so I would be stitching in Japan by now, or probably closing the business because of the COVID and those economy. Either I have lost everything by now, or I'd be stitching still in my family. Because I questioned a lot of things. I questioned a lot of things. I decided to come to the U.S. to avoid Sashiko. As the result, I can express my feeling in English. So it's kind of irony, but that's not like very natural flow, I think. At least I don't feel, I feel very, I don't want to say obstacle, but obstacle to the change that people, the majority is leading in Sashiko. They just want to make Sashiko as the way to recycle fabric, upcycle the fabric, patchwork, happy stitching, whatever you want to make it. All positive, which I'm not a big fan. I like positive. I like positive, but fake positive is something I really don't like. So, okay, little more. Let's keep going. Mm-hmm. My desk is really messy today. Not only today, pretty much every day, but today I have so many stitching materials. So I have like dozen, I don't want to say dozen, but probably dozen of project going on simultaneously. If like I am stitching this one and I probably and supposedly should finish this one first before I move to something else. But I am not designed to be like that. So as the result, I kind of do this one first and the other one, then jump here and that. So there are a lot of project in progress. I usually don't forget about those things, but I sometimes do. So yeah, I do. A lot of things going on now. This one is for the coming up Japan tour. We will make those participant. Actually, they're participant at the same time. I think I consider them as friend. It's more like a friendly quilt. I asked them to stitch like assignment, not mandatory, but assignment for them to stitch before the tour. And then in the tour, we will keep stitching. And at the end of the tour, we collect those stitched fabric and then make one piece of something. And that's gonna be like, I think it's called friendly quilt. And I mean, it's not gonna be quilting, but that's the friendly project. And when we share the same rhythm, same time, same atmosphere, it's surprisingly matches even if we are different people. Different rhythm, different mindset, different character, different personality. But the fact that we can stitch in the rhythm as well as sharing many times together can can make the stitches sort of similar each other. It's quite interesting, but that's what I'm trying to achieve or prove. I have been doing the same thing in Japan. We are working on the third or fourth project at this moment. The first one was a big success. Well, actually, it's sixth one already. Wow. And then the third one is the Sashiko jacket collecting 14 Sashiko artisans in Japan. And that's the jacket which went to the London Williams Morris Gallery as a part of the Mingei exhibition. So I would like to do the same thing with, and anybody in the world for that matter. It's kind of challenging to internationally. So it's a very great opportunity for us to do it together. Yeah, it's gonna be quite. I hope that we can have the exhibition only focusing on that. It's literally the project without specific hero, which can be the translation of Mingei. Everybody's a hero for that. We can list the name of everybody who participated, but we don't know where their contribution are. That we can guess. And those who patchwork combine those pieces do not really combine based on the name or order. It's more like a feeling. So when they mix it, they don't really know who stitched it. So they can guess where it went to, but at the same time, there's no recode on that. And then I think it makes more special for that. It's literally the art without the heroes. So I'm trying to be part of it too. So I kind of have to hurry for that matter. I mean, I don't have to hurry. I do not want to rush the others, but I have to probably complete at least one of those. Ideally, all four. Well, it's pretty easy. It's not that difficult. I mean, it's not gonna take that much time, so it's probably few hours each. Well, probably 5, 6 hours. Yeah, probably more than that. Let's see. So that approach, this um, friendly quilt or collective consciousness artwork, that's a nice way to say that. That's the collective consciousness artwork is quite non-traditional. The mindset or approach is very, very, very non-traditional because traditionally speaking, Sashiko was staged for somebody personal. It's not for somebody something bigger. So that's kind of my approach to the question if Sashiko can be the art. And if Sashiko can be the art, well, not if, when Sashiko can be the art, what kind of art can we define that? Can be fine art or folk art? And what is the definition for the folk art? But I think Minge is a good example of defining the folk art with Japanese culture. And for that, I think what we're making is probably close to the Minge. Hello, Jocelyn. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, yeah. We live in a so strange world. And I do get benefit out of it, so I cannot really change anything too much. Like, since when we can return everything for free? Which I get benefit at some point, but sometimes it's like a little too much. I don't know, it's kind of crazy. But by looking at those financial statement on the, when the company published the financial statement, there are no companies making, I mean, there are no big companies like Amazon or Walmart who are doing those B2C business bleeding their profit. Target, Walmart, Amazon, everybody's making feel pretty good profit, which means that those returns are not, there are more opportunity to make profit than accepting those returns and paying for that. It's like it is the art of globalization and mass production. It's really the art for that. Supply chain, like appropriate supply chain plus globalization plus um, optimized logistics plus labor. Well, labor is a little issue too, but that makes this possible. So it's crazy. But although it's crazy, I really want to keep this simple as possible, that the main heroes in main character in Sashiko are those who stitch. If I change that, I think that's kind of my defeat in terms of passing down this tradition or culture. Like, without people, without artisans, without people who stitch, Sashiko cannot be Sashiko. I mean, right? That's kind of baseline. we can experience many changes in this practice. But if we do not have anybody who practice that, that's kind of completely different thing. They might use the word Sashiko for that later on, but to me it's completely different thing. And I think there are culture or practice which experienced what I am describing right now. We just have the name left, and everything else is kind of gone. I cannot think of what exactly. But okay. So much twisting, rotating the fabric, and then that's not my favorite things to do. Oh, today's rhythm is a little too much. Check. I really don't check the front. You can probably tell. I'm stitching from the wrong side, and I don't really check the good side unless the time I am showing, but I think it is okay. Wow. Where was I stitching? It's okay. This isn't really. Please don't copy this. I mean, you can copy it, but we shouldn't have this empty spot. This is my when I teach, I don't teach like this. I shouldn't be. It's really inefficient. I teach to be efficient, to be lazy. This isn't really the way to become lazy. I keep forgetting every time I do the live streaming, so please don't copy that. Wow, yeah, it's so much so much inefficiency. Oh, if you would like to try this pattern, I think I do still have some left in the stock. This is the fabric we stitch. We get it from Japan, and it's the best. I think it's fair to say it's the best fabric for the Sashiko stitching. It's extremely easy to get on the rhythm. It's nice weight, nice touch. And for these patterns, because we wanted to make so many of those, we prepare that with the washable ink. So you don't even have to worry about preparing the pattern. It's just ready to stitch. Ideally, I recommend to kind of air dry it for a day or two, because the ink can be a little bit sticky when it's new, when it's fresh. So drying it will make it much easier, but so it's not ready to stitch when you open the package, but it's ready to stitch after a bit of waiting. So at the same time, this is not difficult pattern to prepare. So today I'm stitching on the cotton wools, and it's a little stretchy. Yeah, I don't like the stretchy fabric. Like, I don't like the t-shirt. It's just simply the preference. There's nothing wrong with stitching that. But Stitchy fabric is a little bit of challenge. I sometimes start wishing to have something to stabilize it. Like, we use the mushroom thing when we do darning. I cannot speak on behalf of the darning people, but um, that kind of fixture is quite helpful when we work on stretchy items, and I sometimes wish to have that. Cotton wool is probably something I have never tried that before. If it's like denim, then it's probably not gonna be a big deal. It's less stretchy, I guess, than t-shirt. Cotton wool. Wow, I probably started to look for that. Wool. I think I'm thinking about sweater kind of type of thing. That's why I brought up the darning. So it's not a sweater. It's something else. Yup. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. Thursday night is the great time for me to make time for the live streaming, but at the same time it depends on the week. I get quite tired at this time. But I don't have other time that I can do live streaming. Is there any like better time frame that I can do the live streaming instead, or even add in live streaming? I know this is not the best time for those who are in Europe, and I am sorry for that. It's like, 3 or 4 in the morning, so I really apologize for that. It's probably the best for the Eastern time zone, New York time zone, um, which include South America as well, or Canada for that matter. Canada, like American South and North America. Possibly Asia because it's in the morning. The West Coast can be a little tricky because it can be the dinner time, prime time. So, and for me, it's a good time as well as it's a little sleepy time too. So if you have any, I cannot promise I will change. I probably will not change it, but if there's any preference in time zone, time frame, let me know. I like this day and time. Yep. I used to do it on Friday night, but that was kind of impossible in many, many ways. So Thursday is the good day. And if I focus on the West Coast, like Pacific time zone, I'll be completely gone. I'll be completely like I will be probably sleeping and talking simultaneously. So, well, after all, this is the good day and good time. second Thursday you have spinning group. That's awesome to have the group to do that in person. That's kind of again my goal, to have that like Sashiko group. That can be a good way to preserve the culture as well as the sort of the market as well. You know, for those who join those groups may respect the supplies more than those who can shop around. And they might be able to more helpful for that. Supportive, not helpful, more supportive to the decisions. That's probably how we did it too. Like it's like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. That's how I could live without worrying about tomorrow when I was a child. Although my family was all working for that Sashiko. Not all, but besides my grandfather. I cannot still believe that I buy all the book from Amazon now. It's really, I don't like it. I really, really don't like it. But the bookstore, local bookstore, like a brick and mortar bookstore are like 45 minutes away driving. And you know, I sometimes take my daughter there, and I buy daughter. I ask daughter to browse books. But well, Barnes and Nobles can be quite far as well. What was that big bookstore in New York that I used to go? I forgot. I have never seen those. Hey. Ah. Strand, not the Strand. Are No. So you spin too. Ooh. Yeah, you may have been a good friend. I don't know how far Kingston is from where you used to live, but Strand is the famous bookstore. Starting from B. Alright, it might not be the accurate memory. I think it started with B. Well, Kinokuniya is a very, you know, it's a Japanese bookstore. Was there bookstore starting with B? Boulder? Bro? Or that's not really the actual store? I think I've been there with my wife for that. Borders, yes, okay. My memory is not that crazy. Sometimes worry about that. Yeah, borders are they still there? Do you remember where it was? I think it was in New York, but I don't know exactly where. Borders, I think Borders. Do they still are they still there in New York? I don't know where exactly. It can be. I think it was in Manhattan, not Brooklyn. Oh, so they're closed, so it's gone. It's so sad. So where do people go to buy a book? Like seriously, probably Barnes and Noble or Target? Borders was another chain. Oh, okay. All we have left is Barnes and Noble. Yeah. Well, it changes everything. It changed everything, so the bookstore I used to hang out is no longer the bookstore. I mean, they don't even exist. Oh, there was one downtown, the World Trade Center, one near there. That's probably it. So thank you. Probably there were Century 21 nearby that. Wow, my memory is coming back. Yes. It was after Ground Zero, September 11, because I was in still high school when that happened. Then after that, I went to New York at some point, and good memories. I have an independent bookstore. That's good. That's very good. And library too. Yes, library too. We have a pretty good library. So, but the issue of the library is that my reading speed is very, very, very slow. So I have to, in most cases, I kind of have to return it without completely reading it, especially if I, borrow too many of those. In Japanese, I probably can, yeah, that's, I wouldn't say 10 times faster, but pretty close to that speed. So that's why I choose to. I mean, I don't buy many books anymore, which means I don't read much. It's really sad. Because I listen to the book now. Kindle, I mean, the Audible is another things we are kind of changing the system. Okay. So this is one. This is one project I'm doing, and this is the second one. I don't know if I'm gonna do it on the live streaming because this requires a little bit of different rhythm, and in order to get on the rhythm, I may have to stop talking, so I may not do this online. Instead, I probably will do this one. I gotta finish this soon. This is like a Froshki square, another Froshki square with non-planned running stitch, and then I'm kind of filling those space with the shippo patterns, different colors. So those are the three I have on my table, and there's some hiding somewhere. So, all right, it's about 10 o'clock. Right, I will be able to come back this time next week as well. I shouldn't have anything. So I will come back around this time next week. And I hope you have a good night. I hope you had a good stitching, and I hope you have a good night tonight. Thank you. Bye-bye.